Owl Nation, what is going on, Owl Nation? It is a sad Tuesday night. FAU falls in the championship to George Mason. Sebastian, me and you were talking about how do we lose to George Mason? You haven't even heard of who George Mason is. I don't know who George Mason is. I didn't heard of them going into this game. Man, what are your initial reactions? We lost to George Mason.
Yeah, JJ, not a good game overall. Second loss of the season for the FAU Owls. Not a good game. Like, this game was probably the worst game I've ever seen the Owls play. Obviously, you have guys like Carlisle and Vanderpool balling out as usual, but the rest of the guys were kind of a no-show. You know what I mean? Mincy and Long for George Mason were great, scoring double-digit points. George Mason, I don't even know where they're from. Like, I've never heard of this school in my entire life, and losing to this type of team, John Jacobs should be immediately not really on the hot seat, but he should be like in hot water. Like, honestly, like I wouldn't say we fire him, but like you got to be he has to take some accountability after this loss, and obviously the guys as well. This was an unusual loss. This is a weird loss, and we got to bounce back against St. Bonaventures on Sunday.
Yeah, and it feels like it's time and time again in which we have these games where we start slow and it's just too little too late. And this was one of those examples. We go down 61-42. We come back at 66-63. I'm proud of how the team fought, but Coach Jacobs needs to do a better job of getting the guys up and ready to play a full 40 minutes of basketball. Both losses we had came from back-to-back games. We played Charleston and Liberty back-to-back. We lost that second back-to-back game, and that goes on coaching, not getting the guys fired up and ready to win back-to-back games. Sebastian, what were some of the names for George Mason that stood out to you that we couldn't really stop? And what do we have to do going forward to make sure we play better defense to stop some of these star players from the perimeter?
Yeah, some of the guys for George Mason, obviously the two guards, Carson Mincy and then Long. Those two guards were unstoppable, scoring both 20 plus points during that game, shooting lots of threes. They were so good from beyond the arc. Our perimeter defense was a no-show for FAU, so we got to step that up. That's definitely one of the big things. Against St. Bonaventures, our perimeter defense has to be on lockdown. And then in the front court, we got to get the big guys involved. Obviously, Pentalon and Williams were not really involved in the offense. So those are the two key takeaways, from this game that I took out of it: the perimeter defense and then the front court offensively, or just in the entire team offensively was not really in sync with each other. So that's definitely something that we need to look forward to, and working together as a team, because this game was broken.
Yeah, and when we really think about the perimeter defense, which you mentioned, I want you, the viewers, right now, guess how what percent George Mason shot from three. I want you to take a guess in your head. They shot 52.9% from three. They shot over 50% from beyond the arc. That can't happen, and we knew going into it. You mentioned Corey Mensah, Corey Mincy and Jahari Long, two of the best three-point shooters. They were absolutely perfect from three. Both those guys basically played the entire game, 39 and 38 minutes respectfully. And you really look at this and you're shaking your head because we could not stop them from beyond the arc. And that's something that we need to change going forward, Sebastian. Also, from beyond the arc, 6 for 23. That's inexcusable. Cannon Carlisle was extremely inefficient. I love the guy. Some nights he's on, and it's great that he wants the ball late in games. Last year, we didn't have a guy who wanted the ball late in games, but he was missing three after three after three. And that three-pointer he took at 68-65 from the left corner, what's the point? He's dribbling it himself. There's 40 seconds left. First off, I would go for a 2 in that situation. Second off, that was a very bad shot selection from him in specific. Devin Vanderpool had a great game. And when we needed him, he was really there. I love his aggression, especially his height. He's not the biggest guy. He's still a guard. But he goes after every rebound, almost double-digit rebounds again tonight. Before we're gonna flame this team and we're gonna get into all that, but I wanted to get the positives out of the way. So, what are some of the positives you see from tonight?
Yeah, obviously, another slow start for FAU, but obviously during that second half, we saw that team come back down big. They were down what 20 plus points at halftime, so obviously them, fighting back and coming back, almost making this a very close game at the end. That's one of the positives. Able to come back and fight on and almost take the dub against George Mason was super big. Obviously, you said guys like Cannon Carlisle and Devin Vanderpool were super, super great. Not really the efficient type of game, but obviously running the offense and scoring, most of the buckets. Obviously, they had such a good game. And the game that I went to was the game against Pacific. They both had a good game over there. So, those two, we really need them to step it up. And, obviously the entire team, because the entire team was kind of cold. So, but those are some of the positives. Obviously, them coming back and then Carlisle and Vanderpool leading the way in scoring, which was some of the positives. The defense was also great in the second half. Obviously, Amaro Diop had kind of a hot streak on both ends in that second half, so that's some another positive to look forward to, despite the loss. But overall, some positives, lots of negatives out of this game. But let's look forward to St. Bonaventure's and getting a win and stay undefeated at home.
Yes, Sebastian, it really seems like Carlisle and Vanderpool are the two guys that step up and are the two leading guys for this team. Amarum Kudiop, you mentioned him, he's on point late in games. Why does he not get more minutes? If I would have joined the coach's press conference, which I would have, I wanted to go live post game. But the first thing I would ask Coach Jacobs is, why is Amarum Ku only getting 12 minutes a game? And the reason I'm so curious about this is he's playing at the end of the game. He's one of the 5 guys on the court in the last 12 minutes of the game. But why do we see him get 0 minutes in the first half? And it seems like this is occurrence every time. He's so talented. He's very shifty. He's great footwork. We see him spin and get open down low to the hoop. I don't understand why we're not giving him more minutes. I feel as if he should be one of those guys. But let's get into some of the negatives, Sebastian. First off, I want to talk about shooting. 43% from the field. Inexcusable. Now, first off, I always like to give George Mason credit. But what are we doing? 43%. The Pacific game, we shot over 50%. The LMU game, we shot 46%, but we're shooting 43? No, you can't win games when you do that, especially when we go on a hot streak late. What needs to fix, Sebastian, from just shooting in general?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, um, just make your shots when you're wide open. You gotta make your shots. I mean, I feel like sometimes FAU is kind of forcing the shots, especially on the 3-point line. They're shooting lots of threes. You know, go inside, go pick and roll, do something like that because forcing the shots or like when they're under pressure, when the shot clock is almost about to expire, they're forcing it up at last second. That's something that needs to change against FAU because you can have games where you're shooting 50% and shoot super good, and you can shoot 43% and still win the game, but sometimes you know you can shoot super good and win the game, so it's not it's not really that good that you're having a bad game and then shooting super bad. So I mean, it's not really up to par with the offense that we saw the past two or three games. And then this game, against a very poor George Mason defense, it's kind of unexcusable, as you said. Shooting 43%, but it is what it is. I expected better from this game, and I thought we were going to get better from this game. But yeah, just not a good offensive performance.
Yeah, I agree with you. And now we fall to 5-2. It's really gut wrenching. This loss is really gonna hurt tomorrow because man, it would have been so good to get this win. This win could be a quad one game because it's on a neutral site. I'm disappointed Liberty lost today. That means our other loss is looking a lot worse because Liberty lost to Townsend today on a neutral site, which is not a great loss. our two losses come from two very good teams, but it feels like we're not that good. We're not talented enough. I don't know what it is. I feel like in both the games we lost, we've shot under 30% from three, which you're not going to win games when you do that. But I feel like that has to do some things on coaching. It feels like there's no set identity. There's no game plan on offense. It's just free for all. And whoever wants the shot takes it. We're not designing specific plays where we bring one person to the hoop. And I feel like you got to make plays where you're just going to pound Devin Williams and Xander Pinto the ball down low. We don't have that. It's just if Caden wants to take a three, he's going to take a three. And Devin is probably the smartest player on our team still. Shout out to him. When he wants the ball, he's going to take the three. But it's really sad to lose to George Mason. Sebastian, I want to play a little bit of a fun game here. You said earlier in the show you've never heard of them. You don't know where they are. I want you to take a guess. What state do you think George Mason is in?
All right, can I get a little hint? Is it a West Coast? It's probably a West Coast team because I saw they played in the West Coast in their conference. I believe so. So I'm gonna say George Mason.
I'll tell you this: they're not in the West Coast. They're on the East Coast.
They're not on the West Coast. I thought they were. Okay.
Pacific is in the West Coast. Pacific.
Yeah. Okay. East Coast. Is it more towards Florida? Like, is it more up north or like more down here?
It's more in the middle. It's between, the north
More in
and
the
the
middle.
south. It's on the East
Okay.
Coast.
Okay. I'm gonna say West Virginia.
Close. It's in Virginia. How many of you guys
Okay.
watching knew that?
Okay, I was
If
pretty
you
close.
knew that, type yeah in the chat. We want to hear what you guys think about it. But yeah, man, Sebastian, it's a bad, bad loss today.
Hmm.
George Mason, though, I mean, looking at their schedule, they don't have any hard teams coming up. Like,
Yeah.
am I being crazy, or could this George Mason team? I mean, like, look at their schedule. Could they go undefeated? They play St. Bonaventures. That's going to be a tough one, and we play St. Bonaventures. But I don't know, Sebastian. Bad, bad loss today. Very bad loss.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you this though. Is there any optimism that Owls fans should have going forward? Is it all pessimistic?
Obviously this game, flush it down the toilet in my opinion. Like, don't remember this game. We're racing from remembering, but going to Boca against a pretty good St. Bonaventure's team who they lost to Townsend, who I don't even know who Townsend is. Like, who the hell is Townsend? Because I don't even know. But St. Bonaventure's, that should be an exciting game. The alley should be packed for that game. But we are undefeated at home, so that's something to look forward to. I expect another win. The guys will be ready for Sunday. So I'm expecting a win. Let's just see. But we are undefeated at home, so let's just keep it undefeated until conference play. But yeah, just flush this game down the toilet because this was a game to not be remembered. Not a good game overall against George Mason, who I now know is from Virginia, which I'll keep that in mind. It could be maybe a Cinderella story. I don't know in the NCAA tournament. Let's see. But St. Bonaventure's on Sunday should be a good one.
Sebastian, Liberty was the team that lost to Townsend. St. Bonaventure's loss comes from UNC.
Oh, okay.
Not a bad loss. They were
Yeah.
in that game late. If we lose to St. Bonaventure's, we start 5-3. And I feel like if you want to get an at-large bid, you have to play this rest of the season perfect. But to stick to tonight and to get off topic, whoever wins the rebounding battle usually wins the game. And when we look at rebounds from tonight, we won the rebounding battle. So is this loss only contributed off shooting when we look at the stats? Because we had, we turned the ball over more than them. We had the same amount of steals. We had more blocks than them. We had more points in the paint against them. I mean, what does this game come down to, Sebastian?
Yeah, that's a good question. It could be a factor in many things. But I feel like just George Mason played a better offensive game than us tonight, and they really, shut out for against FAU, which a team I feel like who had better should have won this. I feel like they should. I don't know if they were favored in this game. I don't know. But yeah, George Mason just played a better offensive battle. Yes, they won the rebounding battle. Yes, we turned the ball more over than them. But just yeah, not a good game. Yeah, more blocks. Um, but just better offensive performance. Obviously, our defense was not up to par against that. Against George Mason, yes, we had more points in the paint, but that's not going to do us well if we can't get our rebounds. So that's something we need to focus on, especially on the offensive side of the ball. We can't rebound on the offensive end, so that's something that's really tricky. Um, but yeah, just George Mason just had a better offensive night, and that's something we need to work on moving forward. So that's something that I think we'll learn from, and I think we'll get better at.
I feel like we had really good offensive rebounds. Kaden Carlisle had some big rebounds late that kept possessions alive. So did Max Lingerfield and Amaram Koo. Devin Williams had that big one late where it was a missed Amaram Koo layup. Devin Williams rebounds it off the backboard and puts it in. We out rebounded them 10-7 on the offensive side of the glass. But other than that, a lot of mistakes made, especially when it comes to Caden taking too many shots. Do you feel like Caden Carlisle's a little bit too selfish, that he wants to be the guy too much, maybe?
I wouldn't say selfish. I would say more confidence because we've seen him, you know, late into games, being that maybe number one option. Obviously, Johan, obviously a great late in the games, but Carlo, I feel like he deserves the praise of him being the number one option on this team. Obviously, Vanderpool's a great offensive scorer, but he's more of a offensive and defensive type of guy and leadership type of guy. I feel like Carlisle is the right choice to be the number one option, the number one scorer on the team because we've seen him. He scored multiple double-digit performances. Obviously, he had a 22, 21 point performance against George Mason tonight. Obviously, last game, great performance as well. The game against Pacific, he scored 21 as well, which I was in attendance for. So I think it's not really more of a selfish point of view, in my opinion. I feel like it's more confidence, and I feel like he should, level down his, you know, stop forcing a lot of shots and look for some of the guys who are open. Maybe be a bit of a playmaker in my eyes. I feel like that's something he needs to work on. But I feel like it's more of a confidence and less of a selfish in my point of view.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sebastian. I want to talk a little bit about first half struggles. When we look at the Liberty game, the other game that we lost, we went into the half down 20. This game, we went into the half down 15. We outscored Liberty in the second half. We outscored George Mason in the second half. So it seems like there's a common pattern, a common trend in which the games that we're losing, which is we cannot start games faster. Does that go on the players or does that go on coaching and Coach Jacobs and his staff?
Yeah, it's a good question because it can play in both. You can put the blame on the players and the coaches, but in my opinion, it's obviously on Coach Jacobs and his staff. I mean, starting the game off sluggish, always starting the first half sluggish. Like you should be making the guys prepared. You should have the guys prepared for these games, especially in these tournament types of environments, like against Liberty. During that tournament and today in the chip against George Mason, you should have the guys ready. Obviously, you outscored the both teams in the second half, but come on, that's during the halftime break. You should have these guys fired up from the jump. And, even with those two losses, the games that we had that were kind of close, especially against Boston College, we had a good first half, poor second half. But it's kind of a trend going with this team. Sometimes they start the game super hot, second half cold, first half, cold, second half hot. You know what I mean? Which one is it? You know what I mean? Because it should be on the coaches more than the players. Obviously, the players, gotta have their body right, their mental right during these games. Obviously, they get a lot of backlash from have not having good performances. But my blame is on Coach Jacobs and the staff for not having these guys ready, and especially against a loss against George Mason is unacceptable. So yeah, that's my
Yeah,
that's my point.
absolutely, Sebastian. I feel like, Coach Jacobs, it's his job to get these
Hmm.
guys fired up. I
Yeah.
think in back-to-back games, because the Liberty game came a day after the Charleston game, and
Yeah.
this game came a day after the LMU game. It's hard to get guys fired up back-to-back games, especially when energy levels are low or some of the guys are tired. But still, you got to make sure you're watching film the entire day and know that George Mason, they are good from beyond the arc. Their game, their bread and butter comes from three. And although
Yeah.
you don't have time to prepare, you got to make sure that you're preaching that to the team throughout the entirety of warm-ups, throughout the entirety before the game. And I think it's absolutely unacceptable that Coach Jacobs and his staff continue to put lackluster starts from this team. And we can't get on point fast. And we never saw this under Dusty May throughout all of his 6 years. Remember this. Dusty May never had a losing season in one of his 6 years here. All Dusty May would do is win, and he would win close games. And this game came down to the wire. This game was 3 points. We couldn't finish. Sebastian, what do we need to do going forward to finish? Is it going to be making the shots down low? Like, what do you think the identity has to be? Is it going to be to pound the ball down low to Xander Pintalone and to Devin Williams? Or is it going to be to continue to take these horrible three-pointers in which you're getting double-teamed and Kaden Carlisle still's airing it up?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. Obviously, shooting the threes, forcing threes, that's something that does not need to be going forward. Draw a play up, do a pick and roll, find the open guy in the corner. That's something we needed to do. And don't force any threes. That should not be something that needs to be going forward. Obviously, for Kenan Carlisle, obviously he has the confidence to shoot those threes. That's something he needs to work on. Not forcing up those terrible shots. Obviously, because we shot 43% from the field, and it was terrible shot making or shot creation for the Owls tonight. But you're talking about identity. I don't know if this team really have an identity? I don't really know. I don't really know. To start the season, 5-2 or 4-2, whatever it is. But I don't know if this team has an identity just yet, and that's something John Jacobs needs to find in the guys and in his team. But yeah, I like what you said. Finding the guys down low from the big men, Benton and Williams. Try to ease out. Some of the guys up front. Try to find the easy baskets. Try to draw the play. Try to draw the foul. That's something we need to do. Be aggressive. Don't take don't take a terrible shot. And also something we need to do that's super important. Hit the free throws. That's something we need to do. Moving forward. Practice on that. But yeah, that's basically my take. That's something we need to do moving forward. And against say Bonaventures, I think we will do that. So undefeated at home, let's keep it that way. Just flush this game down the toilet. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Yeah, and we did make this game a bit of a fight. And I think we
Yeah,
have to be proud that we fought till the end.
mhm,
Move on though till Saturday. We got to get some fixes. We got to fix the shooting. We got to make sure we capitalize from three. I think Coach Jacobs is going to have to draw up some plays because you look at some of the best teams in the country. You look at Purdue, you look at Arizona. They have a strict game plan and they have ways in which that they make sure that is scripted because they have these plays that they work on throughout the entirety of practice. It doesn't seem like we have that. Our offense is not organized. I'll say this: Carlisle and Vanderpool are a good backcourt duo. They're a very good backcourt duo. They're a top backcourt duo in the conference. You do need to utilize the talent you have in the front court. Some of these guys we have, like Xander Pintalone, I think Xander Pintalone's a top 3 forward in all of the American Conference. International type of guy. Why don't we make him kind of the game plan? We got to make sure that we use our strengths. Our strengths are that our big guys can shoot threes. Devin Williams can shoot threes. Xander Pintalone can shoot threes. Amar Mkudiop can shoot threes. As crazy as it sounds, these 6'10 guys, their niche, part of their game is beyond the arc shooting. And if we utilize that and use our length and our height size to an advantage, not just down low, but from the perimeter, it's going to mismatch teams and it's going to really catch them off guard for sure. Big game, though, on Saturday. Sebastian, any final thoughts before we wrap this show up?
Oh yeah, so the game's on Saturday. My mistake. But yeah, flush this game
Sunday,
down the
Sunday,
toilet.
Sunday.
Sunday. Okay, so it's on Sunday. Okay, so I was right the first time. But yeah, terrible loss. Not a good loss. Obviously, you said the big man shooting the threes. Stretching the floor. That's something we do well. That's something we need to focus on because I feel like we haven't been doing that in the last couple of games. So but yeah, John Jacobs, you gotta lock in, buddy. You gotta lock in. Your job's on the line. No, I'm kidding. But not a good game. This honestly, this game against St. Bonaventure's is gonna not mean anything because they lost. They're not undefeated anymore. So, but keep the
Well,
streak at home undefeated. Please win at home. That's all I ask. But yeah, that's pretty much all I
the
have to
game
say. You
still
gotta
means
win
a
at home.
whole lot because it's a quad
Exactly.
game.
Yeah.
It's still a quad 2 game. The tournament's going to look at that. The committee's going to look at that come tournament time. That's super important. And I think that we need to win. If we don't win out the rest of non-conference play, you could lose once maybe to either St. Mary's or UCF. You're not getting in as an at-large. 5 losses, 5 or less for a chance at an at-large. If we go into conference play with 4 losses, I'm not feeling good because we're
Yeah.
going to lose 2 times in conference. I mean, like, you're not winning out in conference. I don't trust this team to beat Memphis twice. I don't trust this team to beat UAB twice. I don't trust this team to beat USF twice. I don't trust this team to even beat UAB 2 times. I mean, like, we could beat a lot of those teams twice, but still, do you think we're going to beat every one of those teams twice? No. So this game, these rest few games are so crucial, so important. There's no reason why not to get hyped up. And come on, guys. It's Thanksgiving weekend. I know a lot of you guys are going to be in Boca. Go to the game. What are you doing? The entire side that's non-student section, Sebastian, tell them about it. Because you were at the game. You were telling me. I was at the Boston College game. You were at the Pacific game. The student section is great. It's packed out. There's not a seat that's empty. But the other side, where a lot of the old people in Boca sit, there's half the stands are not open. There's 600 people there. Sebastian, tell us about that.
Yeah, I agree. But the student section was elite. One of my favorite traditions. They have one of the best student sections in the American or all of college basketball, in my opinion. The vibes were electric. The vibes were hype. Obviously, the other side of the stands were not so great, but obviously they supported the Owls through thick and thin. So honestly, that's a great game against Pacific, great win against Pacific, but the environment overall was just 100% top notch in my opinion. So definitely want to go to more games, especially in conference play where you need to win. And but yeah, great game overall, great environment overall. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.
And we need you there watching.
Yeah, yeah,
There, get there on Sunday. If you guys have any thoughts, leave it in the comments real quick. We're about to wrap it up. During this wrap up, I'll let you guys have 30 seconds to give your thoughts in the comments. If you have anything you guys want to say, we have 67 people in here, being so for real.
really.
Exactly 67 people in here. So if you guys have any thoughts, let us know. Now 68 people. Let us know down below. Because we want to hear what you guys have to say within these next 30 seconds. But if we don't hear anything, I'm going to do my quick wrap up. Sebastian Fernandez does a great job. Where can they find you, Sebastian? Give us your YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, X, all of that.
Yeah, for Instagram, Sebastian923 underscore. For YouTube, Sebastian F923 underscore. I post a lot of comic book content. Definitely want to post more sports content as well. I love Spider-Man. I definitely want to post more vlogs. I definitely want to vlog, a game day for FAU. That would be fun. Something unique, something cool about that. But yeah, that's pretty much all you can find me on TikTok, on YouTube, and stuff like that. So yeah.
Owl Nation, we really appreciate all that you guys do for FAU. I saw a great guy, Mike Birdman, make it up to the game Him, he's the head of the FAU alumni. He brought about 20 other FAU fans to the game, so shout out to them. Shout out to everyone watching today's live stream. Owl Nation, we love you guys so much. We appreciate you tuning in. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, go Owls, go.
Yes, sir.